Do powers in Mutants and Masterminds feel the same? I don't mean different categories of power like damage and afflictions or flight and burrowing. If you make two distinct damage powers, are they really just like slapping a target with two different flavored paddles? A common criticism I've heard of Mutants and Masterminds is that two powers of the same type will feel the same, and I believe there is some merit to that, but I think it's equally the fault of the game system and its players. What players can do. The first reason why all powers can feel the same is because functionally they are differently flavored versions of the same base power. The difference between a ranged area burst for a fire blast or an ice blast or electric blast is negligible on its own, if you just leave it at that. Obviously, if you want powers to feel different, you will have to flavor them yourself first. A fire blast could cause a debilitating disability, either inflicting an additional weaken power or affliction power on the target, to reflect the destructive nature of fire. An ice blast could slow the target with an extra dazing affliction. An electric blast could have an EMP effect by nullifying technology in the area. You can purchase these powers directly, so in this case, if you want your powers to feel more flavorful, it's up to you, the player, to buy the necessary effects. The system at fault. One thing the system fails to do, and I think this can also be said about many tabletop systems in general, is to encourage and remind its players that a power can have additional effects stemming from their descriptors that make logical sense. I don't really think you need to buy a 1-point cost feature for a fireball to cause a fire that can start spreading. Fire spreads. It creates smoke and reduces breathability. Those are the natural consequences of fire, and if someone causes a fire, those consequences should play out. Water and ice can make an environment slippery and cause skill checks to avoid going prone, or reduce movement speed like the environment impede movement power. By allowing your players to be creative with effects and not being punitive by requiring additional cost, you encourage your players to think outside the box rather than just slap the enemy with their bread and butter until they roll low. When I started to GM Mutants and Masterminds, I was the type of game master who insisted that if you wanted any additional benefits, you should pay for it with PowerPoints. Nowadays, I'm a little bit more relaxed about this, and in my groups this makes for a laid-back, fun environment. If you still strongly believe that all mechanical benefits should have a point cost to them, I suggest using the feature power and appending 1 or 2 points of cost to each power the players make that are going to have these mechanical benefits, like fire spread. Although not every power or descriptor can have these logical unspoken rules, using them when possible will make the game world feel more alive and less like it's just a static game of power tag.